Hey, what's happening, party people? It's Pete with Backdraft Bikes. Checking out the new Triumph 23 Triumph Tiger Explorer. Stick around. So we're gonna do a demo ride today on the new Triumph Tiger, and there's so many different sub variants of this, but we're looking at the 1200 for the start. This is the Rally Explorer. They also have the Rally Pro and the GT Explorer. So you can see the paint schemes are a little different on these. They're all similar, but they have very unique features, and Triumph always has been doing this with their Tigers as of recent years. It's like there's so many sub variants. Essentially they have a new triple redesign, which if you've ever ridden a Triumph Tiger triple, like I had a 1200 Explorer, and I'll tell you, it was a fantastic bike, but very top heavy. These bikes are roughly 562 pounds. They have a 7.9 gallon fuel tank, and their specs are right in line with all the other big adventure bikes. You're right around 150 horse. The torque on these is a little lower. You're at like 99 foot-pounds of torque ish. And one thing that Triumph has been doing on the Explorers for a number of years is drive shafts. So you're not going to have a chain. I mean, just low maintenance, easy to take care of. Also, dual Brembos in the front. These have electronically adjustable suspension. They have a really nice TFT screen you can see up top. I'll flip it on real quick so you can see it. This screen that Triumph has been pushing on their new, I forget how to turn this on. It has a weird kill switch. So I had an I've had a Tiger, but I also had an EX. You can see this right here. The screen is big, and there's a lot of different customizations that you can do on this as far as what it looks like. The technology package that these things have now too is just incredible. However, one thing that I've noticed with Triumphs, which is kind of disappointing, is it is kind of what you see is what you get. There's not a lot of customization on the display. So, and I mean, it goes for the course with the other big bikes too, like my GS Adventure, same thing. So, but yeah, super cool bike. I'm looking forward to riding it. This seat looks ultra comfortable. That's got to be like one of the biggest comfortable seats I think I've seen on an adventure touring. So I'm looking forward to that. You can see rear power port and heated seat for the passenger as well as the driver. So yeah, let's check it out. Oh, it's been a while. It's been a while, you sweet evil temptress Tiger. Oh, look at this thing. I mean, look at it, sir. It looks like this is adjustable quite a bit too, like you could tilt them up. Blind spot detection.
Blind spot radar.
You can't go like this. Ah!
Yeah.
Hill hold unavailable. Maybe it's because I haven't started riding yet. Temperature gauge. I like the heading. Everything. I mean, this is wide though. I wonder how wide this is compared to my GS. Road, sport, off-road, off-road pro, rider, rain. I'm gonna go to sport mode. I like that. Hey, the kill switch works. The clutch on this is a little interesting. It releases right by the top, and look at these little cheesy reservoirs. Hey, there's my GS. I'm going to measure the width of this because this seems almost as wide. Stand-up position is nice. Okay, so this is a guided ride for Triumph, but what's cool is I talked to the leader, and he was super cool. He was like, we're gonna have a good time, and also this actually goes off-road, which is super cool. The mirrors are cool on this bike too, for factory. You won't be upgrading these at all though, because of the fact that they got that blind spot detection in it. Here's a little jump here. Nice. I like the feel of this bike so far. I mean, I know I've only been on it for a second, but it really is nimble, and the brakes on this are excellent. The shifting's a little interesting though. It's kind of spongy. It's kind of spongy. The shifting doesn't really feel super engaged when you shift. It actually feels kind of delicate. Triumph's a big deal on their engine development and trannies though. They spend a lot of time on development. They don't really farm out anything to anybody. Some manufacturers do that. So this bike is 100% British. It's got pretty good power, but it's not, actually I guess it is. I'm trying to find the power curve here, the torque curve. So it doesn't have super duper low end torque, but it definitely doesn't hesitate too much. The roll on. 4,000 RPM seems to be the sweet spot for a lot of twins. So comparing this to the GS Adventure, this bike wants it up a little bit higher. It wants a little bit higher on the RPMs to get into it. But it's not a slouch by any means. I was looking at the specs for this bike, and again, it's very comparable with other adventure bikes of this genre, if you will. This has a 7.9 gallon fuel tank, which is really amazing when you think about it. That's a big tank. So I'm curious what the range would be. And the onboard display is easily accessible by the little thumb joystick. So settings and everything. It's not super duper intuitive on the way that you do it with gloves, but immediately though, I will tell you, this front suspension dives pretty hard when you hit the brakes, and the brakes are very sensitive. So this is a full tank, and this is telling me 300 miles of range. So that's about on average. That's about on par. I'd have to fidget with the settings a little bit more to see, like, can you set up this display to show your fuel mileage consumption and stuff instead of just having a fuel bar. I'm sure that you can. Very minimalist display though, which is nice. You know, you don't want so much information you can't see what's happening. The adventure bike market for these bikes is quite tight. So if you're going to be in this category, you gotta get your A game. Harley's kind of seen that a little bit too. This bike is very nimble, very nimble on the handling, so I'm liking that. This is a nice ride. Many of you know from watching my channel, I had a 1200 Explorer 2014 vintage, had some engine trouble with it, and it kind of jaded me a little bit because it was an expensive bike and it was an expensive mistake that I had with the engine, and it was a known problem with Triumph, and they just kind of walked away from my bike, which was super frustrating because I'm not rich. I mean, my bike is a pretty serious asset. So to kind of have that happen was difficult for me to deal with. But anyways, here we are again, and this is a all new redesigned model. Hydraulic clutch too. Again, I don't know why you wouldn't put billet covers on this just for longevity, but it's nice to be able to see the level. And the same thing goes for the reservoir for the brakes. It's kind of a chintzy reservoir. But besides that, let's talk a little bit about my first impressions of this bike. My first impressions is this bike handles really well. It has a very comfortable seat, and the riding position is quite neutral. I'm not being jacked into the tank. I don't feel cramped at all. There's good movement, both front and back. And so far, the windscreen is nice too. The buffeting is not bad at all on the helmet. I can feel it hitting right above my eyes. And again, being 6'4", it is something that I'm always looking at with bikes. Why is the windscreen this way? There is quite a bit of distortion on the windscreen though, so you're not really designed to look through. One thing I will talk about on this bike, this is a serious point, is depending on which model you get, there is a height issue. So I am 6'4", like I said. My inseam is 34 inches. I can stand on this bike flat-footed, barely. So if you're under 6 feet, I don't think you could ride this bike. You'd have to really pay attention. As far as comfort goes on a really tall adventure bike, if you're going for your touring situation, that is nice. But one thing I'm noticing is the bend in my legs. My GS seems to have a little bit more leg room with the foot pegs. Like it's a little bit better as far as ergonomics go, but it's close. On my GS though, I have 2 cylinders sitting in front of my legs, so makes it a little different feeling for sure. So they said off-road riding. I think this is what they're talking about. It's dirt roads, which is fine. Gives you enough time to feel it. As far as being able to stand up on this bike goes, I have a good pinch point for my knees. The seat is narrow, so for me to stand up, I'm really buckling my knees kind of inward to get a good stance. The foot pegs are also a little narrow, and they have a rubber top on them. So again, comparing this to all things GS, it's just a different feel. Now there's so many iterations on the Explorer that Triumph makes. The Rally, the guy explained to me the Rally models are kind of their base, and then the Explorers have the larger tank and blind spot protection. The Pro models give you a little bit more tweakability as far as suspension and brake setups, but right out of the bat, this has a ton of adjustability. I've hit the high beam switch twice actually riding. It's right by your trigger finger, so it makes it a little bit easy to accidentally bump into. This bike has no problem handling on these roads. I mean, this is packed dirt. This isn't anything off-road for sure, but it definitely, I'm not scared. Very, very confident feeling. Pressing the home button gets us back to the big screen in front of us. And I don't want to play around with this too much while I'm on the road, but there really isn't a ton of options. You can get into different settings and modes, and there is a rider feature on this that allows you to kind of custom tailor your bike to your riding preferences, and then you can set it to rider mode, which means, hey, this is my setup that I've saved for my bike, completely custom. So I do like that. The Pan America does that, and I believe the GS will do that as well. This was this stop. They wanted to stop and take a picture of the mountain. Yawn. No one wants to. Neutral's easy to find. So hill hold. Now Triumph used to have the hill hold indefinitely, and then I noticed Pan America did a pause on the hill hold, so it'll only hold for a minute. This is seems to be good to go. Are we stopping? Oh, I guess we're stopping. This will give me a minute to play with the settings though. So heated seats are up here, fog lights are up here, cruise control. The heated hand grips, I really like Triumph's. They have an integrated button right on it, which is kind of nice. And dedicated mode button, which I like as well. I think that's pretty fun. But if I go to this, oh, here we go. So this joystick is nice, but with gloves on, it's a little bit tricky to push down on. So theme. Got a couple different themes. Cobalt. Loading cobalt. Oh, I guess it only goes furnace and cobalt. So there's only two. And it's just colors. That's kind of weird. Shift indicator. Yeah, that's just tells you when to shift. Rider name. I should change this to like Bocephus, so other people riding it will be like, what is going on? Okay, so that's kind of interesting. As far as the... Is this a touchscreen, by the way? Oh, no. Okay. Tire pressure monitoring. You got a dampening setting. Coolant setting. What is that? Okay, tells you your coolant level. That's, I guess, okay. That's good. Warnings, service. Service due at 10,000 miles. This bike is brand new. So that's good. Settings. So it gives you a bunch of different things. Okay, so there you go. See? Shift assist, so it's got a quick shifter, hill hold. Indicators are self-canceling. I like that. And riding modes. And it gives you kind of the different ones. So the screen is good. It's nice and big, but boy, I wish that there was a little bit more customability to it. All right, here we go. Let's try traction control. I want to see what this thing feels like. Yeah, actually, it's not very aggressive. So it let me spin a little bit, but it wasn't bad once I got on it. It wasn't like jerky. So the Pan America with the traction control is awful. I remember that bike. It basically almost feels like your bike is stalling. So yeah, the engine on this bike has an interesting growl to it. It sounds almost like a 70s era American muscle car. And I like that sound. I do like that sound. And the triples are they've always got a nice torque curve to them. So it makes it fun because you can get a little bit higher RPMs with them compared to some of the twins out there. And the triple supposedly is supposed to give you better torque too. I wish that you could customize this display a little bit more. It feels very CF Moto cheap. It's just a tack and a speedo gear indicator. Man, I wish you could like change the fuel to say how many miles till empty and stuff instead of having to go through some dumb menu. That's frustrating. Yeah, I was just checking to make sure there's no, like if there's another button somewhere, but I didn't see one. Welcome to Cow Hampshire, bud. I do like this bike for comfort though. I'm telling you, nice upright seating position, slightly forward, just a little bit forward. And the seat is very comfortable. It's not like ultra plush, but it almost has that like memory foam feeling. So you could ride this for a long time and not have a problem. WP suspension, I'm pretty sure on this is WP suspension, electronically dampening. And the windscreen is adjustable. I'm not sure how to do that. Oh, on Triumph it's easy. You just kind of push it down and pull it up. See? I'm gonna push it down. Now I can feel the wind is hitting me right where my GoPro is, so makes it a little nice. And the mirrors are really interesting. It looks like a cast aluminum setting, and it basically goes up and does a 90, almost like the indestructible style mirrors that I run on my bike. So yeah, this is a good ride. This guy he's not slouching. So far so good. I mean, this bike is very impressive, but I do have a few things on it. The brakes it feels like the brakes are linked. Here we go. Oh, the quick shift is nice. The quick shift is actually really nice. It almost overcomes the butter knife in the peanut butter jar feeling that I get with this shifter. Does it work on the down? Yep, it does. Wow. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. When I get back on tarmac, I'm gonna throttle this thing pretty hard, and I'll go up through the gears with the quick shift just to see what it feels like. But I'm gonna switch this to a different mode, and you can do this on the fly. Triumph doesn't make you pull over or anything. And I'm gonna go to road, sport. I'm gonna go to stop sign first. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. So road, sport, rider. Oh, you know what? It won't let you go into the off-road versions if you're moving. I forgot about that. And then with this one, you have to hit the check marks, the checkbox to actually change the mode. You can't just select it and it will default in timeout and won't change it at all. So now I'm in sport mode. I was in road mode before, and I can tell you right now the throttle's much touchier. Oh yeah, much touchier. And that might have unlocked the extra ponies I kind of felt that were lacking. And you can feel the suspension is actually stiffened up on this too, as well. And what the manager guy was telling me too is that there's going to be a new ride mode that they're putting on here as well that allows the suspension to drop lower if you want it to on these bikes. Because I think Triumph realized maybe they made a bike that's a little out of height adjustment for most riders. This thing is like a rocket ship. I better slow down. Yeah, this thing is like a rocket ship. Unbelievable. With the sport mode and the quick shift. Here we go. Yeah, do you feel the difference? I mean, can you see the difference? Yeah, very nice. And the suspension is a lot stiffer. I'm feeling all of the bumps now. Hey, look, I turned on the high beam again. That's annoying. I wonder, can I put it? So you can't put it in the pro modes while you're driving. Where if I pull the clutch in? Nope. Oh, that's frustrating. So I'll tell you the reason why I wouldn't like that is because maybe what we were just doing these drive modes and you're switching to a dirt that's pretty nasty and then you're back on tarmac, it would be nice to be able to slip that in on the fly. My Beamer, you can do that no problem. So I'm not sure why. I know it's a safety thing. I know that's why they're doing it. So I think on this bike what I would do is probably loosen up the handlebars a little and rotate the bar up slightly. I think that would lend itself to a little bit better riding position for myself just because I'm tall. And I'd probably set up the rider mode. That'd probably be my ace in the hole with traction control and ABS off, so that if I flip onto dirt and I want this thing to be like a motocross bike, that's probably how you can get around the lockout of the off-road modes. So I'm in 6th, and I'm just trying to see how does this thing feel. It almost has a V-twin burble on the lower end torque. When you roll into it, it's not bad at all. It has plenty of power. But again, this engine's torque curve seems to be a little bit higher on the revs. But no slouch on handling at all. I mean, the bike feels like a sport bike. Certainly would have no problem keeping up with most bikes on the road with this. And the whole shot, it doesn't disappoint. The clutch is a little funky. There's one little adjustable screw on the top, so it's not a completely adjustable lever setup like you see on like the Adventure or the Pan America for that matter. It's just a simple, straightforward, old style lever with a thumb screw adjustment, but nothing for position, which is kind of too bad. So I don't know, this bike is expensive. I don't know how expensive this bike is with the options it has, but how much would it cost to just be top of the top with everybody else? Alright, so we're going to be ending the ride here pretty soon. I gotta say, this is probably the best demo ride I think I've ever been on. I just want to give a couple observations, overall impression of this bike after spending the last half an hour on it. I think this is a very capable bike. It's a contender for the GS if you want to use that as the benchmark. How does this bike compare to other bikes like the Africa Twin, the Super Tenere, 1290 Super Venture from KTM? I mean, these bikes are all very similar. I think Triumph has a good thing going, but I think they're missing the mark on a few small cosmetic items, and then tuning and balancing the brakes on this would be a little bit better so they're not as touchy. And as well, the front suspension has a lot of dive to it. Of course, it's plush, so you can ride this bike in an off-road condition without getting into too much of a problem. We'll crack the visor here. Newberry Fire Department bike. But I think there's a little vibration in the handlebars too. Again, I'm just being nitpicky here for being a big touring bike. Yeah, see, sitting like this, I can feel I'm flat-footed, but my heel is light. The engine has an interesting knock to it. I'm sure that it's okay, but well, I'm not going to light it up here because this is like a city street. The clutch release is right at the top. Watch. See? Very, very little for a hydraulic clutch, I'm not sure how much you could adjust that, but it needs a little bit more free play. I mean, look at how much travel it has. See? And it engages within a ½ inch of the top. So that, again, that could be an adjustment. I remember my, actually I crank that lever right down right now. Yeah, it doesn't make a difference. I remember when I got my XE from the factory, the suspension was really weird. Like half of it was set up wrong. So it took a little bit of tweaking, but as far as other creature comforts go, the seat's very comfortable, the ride's very comfortable on this. Here's a little bit of a, oh yeah. The engine is plenty powerful. I think it's a little bit vibey, and I wish it had a little bit more torque down low. Oh, that was Vermont. Hey, that was Vermont. Now we're in New Hampshire. Nice. Bienvenidos. New Hampshire. Cow Hampshire bike. So, yeah, all in all, pretty good. If this bike is in the same price point as the other large adventure bikes, I'm curious to why Triumph doesn't refine a few things. The shifting is weird. A lot of nosedive. I wish that the display was a little bit more customizable. The levers are not quite adjustable to my liking, but the engine and the quick shifter are excellent. I mean, do you hear that noise? Woohoo! Wow. What a noise. Yeah, what a noise. I mean, it sounds like an Italian sports car, 70s era muscle car, like a 350 4-bolt main. Oh yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed the ride. 0 to 10 rating on this, just off the hip here. I'd probably give it 6.5. 6.5 to 7. I mean, it's not a bad bike, but it didn't blow me away. I'm gonna try a few more Triumphs. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and as always, bro, ride safe.